Welcome to the CWC Podcast with your host, David Selby, Justin Reed, and Andy Horton.
All right. Hello and welcome to the CWC Podcast. I'm David Selby, your host, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Andy Horton and Justin Reed. And on today's show, we are going to provide some clarity on the current differences between the association races and outlaw races. So races that aren't sanctioned, part of the association, like the Clinton National Championships or the 1836 in Texas or B&B Farms races up in Indiana. And later we're going to bring on a special guest, Mason Platzke from Preston, Maryland. That's right, a long way away. He's the outrider from the Trump Train race team, who are originally kind of based out of Georgia, but they kind of come from all over the place. He's a great outrider. He's a heck of a guy. And of course, Trump Train, in lieu of the election week, we are also going to have a segment on the show called If You Could Be President for a Day, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it's got to touch on wagon racing in some way. So we're going to have some fun with that, be getting it on your minds because it's all coming your way today on the CWC Podcast.
Wow, just like putting that one out of nowhere. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I just, I don't want to tell you guys everything that we're going to do on a show before I just fire it at you.
Well, here I'm thinking about like foreign policy, the economy.
Right?
Yeah. So a little bit of inside information here, or a little touch of insight. I told these guys, hey, we're going to do a first time ever segment of If You Could Be President for a Day, without giving a little bit more context, like make it a little bit relevant to the Chuckwagon racing community, and maybe don't start an outright debate, as we all know Justin would do if we opened the floodgates. But how are you guys doing? It's been a little bit since we've had all three of us here on the show together. I guess I should say Merry Christmas, because where we're at, we're past Halloween now, so it's pretty much Christmas.
We still got Thanksgiving.
Right.
So you're not going to just steamroll that one.
No, one of my favorite memes is the blow up turkey that has pushed the blow up Santa down and says, "Wait your turn, fat fella," or something like that.
Fat man, yeah.
Fat man, yeah.
That was the most mild version of that you probably have ever given us there, Justin. So the last couple weeks, it's been a little bit spread out. It's been a little bit different. We had the last race of the season at Loretta Lynn's. I know, Andy, you've been just shooting like crazy. You get into the fall time of the year. So what have you been up to?
Yeah. So last weekend we had a huge barrel race. It was like $60,000 added. And we had I think we said in about a 64-hour period there, we worked 50. So it was insane. Yeah, we went like 10 a.m. to 2 a.m., noon to 7 a.m. the next day, and then like 11:30 that day to like 2 a.m. Monday. And then I drove home after that like an idiot.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So impaired, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hallucinating by the time I got home. Yeah.
Oh, man.
For sure.
I know that feeling. Obviously there's different levels of that, but I know that feeling. And that is, were you like smacking yourself in the face a little bit?
I was doing all sorts of gymnastics trying to stay awake. I was, you can't let your head sit still. I was like moving around, and it was, I never should have done that. Should have stayed there. Should have got a hotel room. Even if I slept in the truck, should have done something besides that. Stupid.
Should have got those little boom booms or whatever they are. It's like smelling salts, but
I was like,
yeah. Where do you get those, Justin?
I don't know. I saw him on Joe Rogan.
Okay. Is that anything like Colombian Bam Bam?
Right. Yeah.
Not coming in standard on your typical first aid kit. I don't think. I have not.
Right.
I've not had the opportunity to smell a sniff of smelling salts before. Have you?
I don't know.
Yeah, actually, yes.
I think we should do an episode.
Just like a little short form content, little TikTok video.
Yeah, smelling salts.
Justin, what have you been doing for the last couple of weeks other than smelling salts?
Well, so I basically been working a lot. I volunteered my time and effort for the Simmons Bank Championship, which was a PGA golf tournament that they had in Little Rock. So it was all the older folks, the 50 and up. Too bad John Daly didn't play enough this year to make it, but did see a lot of pretty well-known golfers. But that was pretty interesting. I did that from Wednesday on to Sunday. And then this week has been just, last week was catching up on work. This week, went and voted.
Yeah.
Did the regular voting thing. And then right after I went and voted, John Daly was actually at the liquor store down the street from where I voted. So I went to the liquor store. And
he was probably getting ready to go vote himself.
No, he was doing a signing.
Oh.
So
of course
I was like, well, I'll go ahead and get his signature. I've got this big sports jacket that is like red, white, and blue with the flag, looking. And so I wore that all day for the election, and he likes all that kind of flamboyant colors and stuff like that. And so I had him sign my jacket. And I was like, you could tell he was just hammered. Just didn't really understand where he was. He was kind of like, just signing stuff. And he was watching the election on his phone. And
incredible.
And I was like, hey, John, I said, I've got a question for you, because I was going to ask him to come on the podcast. And I was like, hey, John, I've got a question for you. He's like, yeah, what's up? I said, well, I know you've been to the Chuckwagon races in Clinton, because we do have that footage. We do have that footage where he was playing guitar, and he goes, I don't think I've ever been out there before. And I was like, oh man, you are totally gone. You probably don't even know what day it is. But no, he was pretty cool. Other than that,
Yeah, great guy.
Well, once he
really
said that
fun to talk to.
Once he said he'd never been out there, I was like, well, there's no point in asking him to come on now.
Man, yeah, and that's so funny because my story of meeting him, well, I guess I didn't really meet him. My encounter with him at the Chuckwagon races, which I've probably told you guys before, but it was kind of like that. He was up on stage with Tyler. What was his name? What is that artist? He was the one playing at the races that year. Tyler something or other. Anyway.
Yeah, if you hadn't said it.
Yeah, now I can't. I'm terrible with names. But he was playing the concert on a Thursday or Friday night, and John Daly, for whatever reason, is there, and he's on stage and just sitting over there, chain smoking cigarettes and having some beers, and I wanted to give him a koozie. This was 2022. And I wanted to give him a koozie from Agzaga. I was down there with Agzaga.com that year, and we were sponsoring the races. And also I was filming the races, and I was kind of trying to tie all that stuff together. And I was like, if I could just give him some merch, maybe that would, go somewhere for our marketing. And so I'm trying to get his attention. He's sitting in a fold out chair, like I said. And then he's got a lady who, I don't know if it's his assistant or what, but she's kind of there. And I'm like, hey, yeah, come here. And I'm like, here, give this to John. I'd love for him to have this. And so she goes over there, and I was like, and he needs a koozie for his beer. And she goes over there and gives it to him. And he just barely looks at her, takes the koozie, signs the koozie, and gives it back to her without even thinking at all. And then she comes over and gives it back to him. I'm like, okay. And then there's this guy next to me, and he saw it happen. He's like, hey, at least you got a signed koozie. And I was like, hey, give him another koozie and tell him to put his beer in it. Anyway, she did that, and he didn't do it. But then he got up and he played Simple Man or something. He literally got up and played, and it was not good. He was not good at playing guitar and singing, but he did do it, and it was awesome. Everybody was losing their minds because everybody loves John Daly in Arkansas. Obviously he's the Happy Gilmore of real golf. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So, anyways, I know we're cruising on this episode. I hope everybody's ready for a long episode because we're overdue for catching up a little bit. Yeah, and as Justin was saying, if you haven't seen it in the news already today, there was an election last night, and amongst other things that were being voted on, the 2025 president of the United States is going to be Donald Trump. He'll be sworn in January, of course, and so that's a huge win for the Republican Party, which coincidentally also seems to be the majority of a lot of the Chuckwagon racing people that we know. So I think that's a win for a lot of people in Chuckwagon racing, and for a lot of different reasons, and then a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. But we're all, I would say the majority of people, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I do think that it's pretty obvious that the majority of people in the rural realm, the maps will show you this, are in the red area, and so it's been a big win for a lot of people today, and also a big loss for people on the other side. And whether it's sports of competition of any kind, or politics or whatever, like I look to the other side, and I always I look at them as people, and I know that everybody has their own reasons for their own beliefs, their own reasons to vote, and respect to everyone. And it's great to see when your side, when what you're rooting for happens and it works out. And hopefully this will be a great thing for the United States of America. And yeah, did you guys stay up last night and watch? What'd you guys do? How'd you take it in?
Oh yeah,
You stayed up?
I did.
Awesome. I stayed up as well. Yep, I stayed up. Now I will say this: I dozed off right before Trump took the stage, and I was a little upset about that. But I did watch Trump's speech today, and I'll tell you, I probably think it's one of the best speeches he's ever given. But congratulations, America. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's been a crazy day. I mean, obviously anybody that's plugged into social media is getting the popcorn out, I should say, and enjoying themselves, because it has just been total chaos. I mean,
yeah.
Like I said,
that's what Andy and I were talking about earlier. I said, when Joe Biden took office, then we had to sit and, we had to understand that's the way it is,
Yep.
and there's nothing you can do about it now. We just got to move on. And so all these people that are taking to social media and saying, delete me if, delete me if, delete me if. And I'm like, that's, there's no reason to lose relationships over politics. I mean, it's, everybody has the right to their opinion and their belief, and that's what makes America great.
Yeah, well, and obviously, our show and everything is not meant to be politically based. It's not meant to be politically charged. We're going to talk about this stuff because it's relevant right now, but actually, tying it into sports. I'm going to tie it into sports.
Yeah.
And kind of like I was doing, and I realize we're talking about real life decisions that affect people's lives, et cetera, et cetera. But there is something about sports, and you talk about youth, and you talk about the ability to lose or the ability to win with class, or however you want to put that. And there, that's the thing about the social media today that's a little bit like the frown that I catch myself wearing some today is like, what did you just say? Like, it's okay to lose, and it's not the end of the world. This is the next 4 years for whoever disagrees with it, and it doesn't mean the world is over. And just like you said, 4 years ago, when the Republicans, the Trump supporters, they've lost the election, and you have to sit there and watch Biden take office. And this is where I tied in sports is, when you're a kid and you get involved with sports, you get involved with competition, you're exposed to winning and losing. You're exposed to what that's like. And I don't know, I just see a lot of parallels whenever whenever I see how people handle the loss today, and it can be really, really dramatic, and it can be really, emotionally charged. And I'm like, these are people that are that maybe don't have a lot of experience with losing, but they got involved emotionally, or they had a reason to be really emotionally involved with this, and they didn't know how to handle it. And so once again, I try not to hold anything against anybody. And actually, there's a tip of the hat in just about any scenario where I see somebody putting their thoughts out on social media, because there's going to be a learning process that happens one way or another there. They're going to now start exposing themselves and their hearts just a little bit, and hopefully start conversations that are good, that are for the better. That's kind of my take on it.
Well, and if you look at sports, this is what I was always taught is you have to look at it like this. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. And for what we're dealing with now, for people that don't share the same views maybe as I do, you're not losing democracy. It's not going to go away. You only have 4 years. It's not like you have 8 consecutive years of this. We've already had 4 years of Trump, and now he can only serve 4 more. So, and to some of us that may be sad. To some of us, they may congratulate that. But everybody's got the right to their opinion, and like you said, it's always a win and lose battle. Somebody's going to lose. Somebody's going to win.
Yep. I did want to ask you guys, what do you think? Like I'm sure I shouldn't go into politics on this show, but you know what? Here we are. We're talking about it, and I guess we could always cut it out. But at the end of the day, I kind of like talking about this stuff. I think it's relevant right now, and so, what do you guys think the biggest sway was? Without getting too without getting too deep in here, what do you think the biggest sway was that Donald Trump in the last election lost to Biden, and what do you think the biggest sway was? Because I think as you're watching the election results last night, you're seeing everything has changed in the last 4 years. Like, they're showing the comparison between 2020 and 2024. You're seeing the couple points here, couple points there, all these different counties. You get really granular. It's like, hey, he's the Harris votes are a little bit down. The Trump votes are a little bit up almost everywhere, even where, it's a largely Democratic winning area, Democratic blue area. You're still seeing a difference there, which changes the overall picture. So what do you guys think the biggest sway was? Broad question.
My opinion, I think the biggest sway was the economy. I mean, you're talking about 4 years of a Biden economics that has destroyed this country for the working class people. And you've got Democrats alike that are feeling the weight of the economy and where it's at right now. And you've got people that can't afford to live and have basic necessities because they don't make the income, because the income hasn't really increased all that much, but the weight of groceries and everything else in the economy has. And so I think that was the biggest kicker. I think that the reason why Harris didn't get as many votes was because she was already tied to the back of Biden's coattails. So in that aspect, they're thinking, well, we're just going to get 4 more years of the same thing. So go all in on Trump.
Yeah, and I know for the Harris side of things, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I'm sure. And yeah, anything to add to that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything he said, and on top of that, Trump's opponent was someone that no one had ever voted for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, and the fact that she was just given.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, kind of thrust into the situation, not with, probably with the shortest campaign of all time for a presidency. And so it is interesting. There's a lot of what ifs there for them. And I mean, at the end of the day, the Republican Party is celebrating, we're glad. So So yeah, it's interesting to talk about that stuff. I think it's so relevant. I think it affects everything, and I agree that I actually I personally have felt the weight of change in the economy for the worse, and I think everybody feels that way. And I think that I guess the thing that I feel the best about, even though I realize there's two sides, there's a huge, massive losing side to this deal, as far as like the Democrats losing the election, right? Um, but I just feel like the turnout of voters for the Republican side of things this year is a huge cry for change, and so I just think it speaks volumes, the turnout and who people voted for this year, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 4 years because it's going to be drastically different, in my opinion, than what we just experienced. So kudos to all that, and yeah, let's move right into this thing. Um, so moving into the show here, again, if you guys have not already, please subscribe or live the ride at chuckwagonchannel.com. $11 a month or $99 a year. It saves you 25% if you do the year. It also, if you're a yearly subscriber, one of the things that we love about that is that we know that you're on board for the long haul. We know what to expect, and as we try to grow this thing, it gives us an idea of how many people are really sticking around, that are really going to be a part of this thing. And as we go into the winter and the fall right now, it helps us to be able to gauge what's going to happen in these fall months. So we'd love to see that, that commitment, that save yourself 25%, make that commitment. Let us know that you're going to be around for the next year so that we can start planning for 2025 and know what we have to work with the Chuckwagon channel, and that we can plan accordingly. So furthermore, if you want to be a sponsor on the show, just reach out to us at any point in time and we'll send you our sponsorship package, get you some information. This episode is coming to you on Thursday, November 7th. We're obviously recording the day after Election Day, so it's Wednesday the 6th right now. But thank the heavens, we're recording it a day early, and we can filter out all of Justin's political rants and profanity, and we can, keep it a little bit reasonable.
Look, David, now I'm
So
gonna have to cut
maybe
that
a
out 'cause
child could
everybody's
sit in the
gonna
other
think
room.
that I'm a Harris supporter.
We're gonna have to. I probably should not have brought so much politics into the show already. I know that
You definitely should not have,
because it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better.
It's fine. It's fine.
So on today's show, one of the things I wanted to do today was kind of answer some questions that we're hearing regularly. I want to touch on the association, but I did first of all want to answer a couple of Chuckwagon channel related questions that we've gotten. One of which is, can I watch the Chuckwagon channel on my television? Like a smart TV app. Justin, how would you answer that question? I want to know from somebody not me.
So, well, you can not on a smart TV app per se, other than if you had YouTube, you could turn on your YouTube on your smart TV and go to Chuckwagon channel on YouTube, as well as if you have your app on your phone, you can cast it to your TV. If your TV is a smart TV and has that option.
Yes.
So those are the two main ways.
Yes, and to clarify, YouTube has a lot of our content for the CWC podcast, all of our content for the CWC podcast. What it doesn't have is all that stuff that's given to you when you become a paid subscriber on the Chuckwagon channel, the platform itself,
The full
Chuckwagon channel
episodes of the docuseries.
Yes, full episodes of the docuseries, full race days from all the different races that we go to and stuff like that. Those are the things that when you go to the Chuckwagon channel, you're going to get those extra perks. You also get to see the CWC podcast a day early. And as Justin was saying, the app is a great thing because we are able to keep you more in the know of things by sending push notifications and things like that. I would say that's the best way to stream content right now is to get on the CWC app. The app itself is free. Download it, Android or iPhone. Download the app, and go ahead and sign in. Get an email account set up with it and stuff. Even if you're not subscribed, it's worth having the app, and you can still be getting push notifications. If there's something big that comes up, and we send out a push notification. And then, yeah,
if you do download the app and you haven't seen the docuseries yet, the first episode of the docuseries is on the app on the free version.
Yes, it is free. And we do have from time to time different things that will pop up on there for free that would not otherwise be free that you won't see on YouTube. This holiday season, some of the things I've been thinking about trying to do, looking at like past years of Clinton and stuff like that. Right now, we go back to like 2016 ish, I think, on the CWC on the Chuckwagon channel. And so when you get on the app and you're subscribed, you can watch back in time that far. But we have videos dating all the way back to 2007. So there's a pretty big gap there that we don't have that stuff on there. So those are the kinds of things that I'm going to start putting more of that on there. There's also a pretty fun documentary from 2010. Some of you, if you would have been buying the DVD back then, you would see that for the national championships. There's also the Hoopla video, which is part in that first couple of years that I was going down to the Clinton races. The Hoopla video was like a blooper video, but on steroids. So it's not just like bloopers. It's like, hey, let's go and like antagonize people a little bit and get some fun reactions to some different stuff. We went and checked out like Chuckwagon showers. Like, what were people doing to like shower at the races? And there's all these different things that people were concocting, and we did this whole bit on like the showers at the races. And then this is like, we probably shouldn't have done this, but we totally did a bit on moonshine specifically. And we talked to all these different people about like their different liquors. What did we say? Like, we named it like something liquors or whatever, and the bit. And we go around and we're just interviewing people about like their moonshine and the things that they're putting together, the pink lemonades and the apple pie. And then we have like an extended interview with one guy who's like talking about like his family history with bootlegging. And
Heck
yeah, it was good stuff. And that's some good throwbacks. So that's the kind of stuff that like this holiday season, as we're kind of in that limbo phase where we're pretty much putting out podcasts and races from association races and stuff like that. That's kind of some of the stuff I'm gonna put out there. But as we're waiting for the next docuseries stuff to drop in January. So
right on.
So yeah, be subscribed, guys. I mean, it's worth it, and it's not that much. Like, if anything, please, if you like the sport of Chuckwagon racing, please support us. We need it, and that's how we're going to grow this thing. All right, so we're going to get our guest on here in just a minute. I did want to touch on association stuff. I'm actually going to get the guest on here. Let's get Mason on here, and maybe we can even have him weigh in on the difference between association races and outlaw races. And is he waiting in the waiting room right now?
Yep.
Sweet. Well, let's get Mason Platzke on here. What's up, Mason?
How's it going, Mason?
Oh man, you are by far the most prepared person that we've ever brought on the show as a guest. You've got great lighting. You got a button-up shirt on. You're eating a bowl of cereal or something. I love it. And you got a Mick Ultra. Man, you must watch.
Oh man.
Hey, check this out. Look, venison, turkey.
Oh man. He's not skipping.
Oh.
He's not skipping Thanksgiving. This guy.
No, babe.
No,
we're on it.
Yep. Yeah, you're not gonna.
Awesome.
You won't have the tree up until after Thanksgiving, is my guess.
No.
My kind of man
Sherry
out there. Yeah.
I hear Sherry in the background. Sherry, congratulations. I wanted to make sure we say it on the show here. Just a quick announcement. Mason and Sherry, they locked it down.
Thank you.
Oh, and the Trump train shirt. Love it.
She came prepared.
That's
I've
fantastic.
been wearing it for 2 days.
Hey,
All right.
With it being the election week and everything, I'm sure you guys have been sporting some nice apparel around there.
Unfortunately, we're in the state that didn't get their sense of right and wrong right,
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah,
we did all right.
I mean, you guys are north, man.
Yeah, that part of the shore that I'm on, the part of Maryland that I'm on, would be red a long time ago, but it's the cities that kill us.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what all the maps show. I mean, it's a country divided, but not down the middle. It's all the cities and the coastal regions, and then
Yep.
all the rural area is all red. And man, we won't go any deeper on that today, but that is, I mean, that is undeniable. So,
That's
man, kudos to you for being alive, over there in that, you're like 2 hours from DC, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. 2 hours east of DC.
Yeah,
Wow.
you guys are up there. Well, I just think that's a great segue into how the heck are you a Chuckwagon racer down here at all these Arkansas races?
It's something that we can't get away with around here. So I gotta go where the fun is.
Oh man,
And
That's right.
it's the most excitement you can get around here for horses is standardbred racing, thoroughbred racing, jousting, cowboy mounted shooting. But man, when people are like, "You do what?" It's like, yeah, put me on it.
That's right.
yeah.
That's
Also, I race on a team called Trump Train, and
That
right. Yeah.
that's right.
it's awesome, man.
Yeah,
And
that's always a kick. That's always a kick in the rear end when you finish a conversation like that.
yeah,
That's
man.
right.
And I meant to say it. So Mason's a newlywed. We went down to Loretta. I say down, over from where I'm at in Southwest Missouri. Went over to Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, Loretta Lynn's Chuckwagon races, the Halloween Havoc, and this was the last weekend of October. And wouldn't you know it, Mason and Sherry got married down there by the creek. Tell me about that a little bit. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. That was the team that we are affiliated with and enjoy and call them a family. They're the ones that they set it up and they pushed us really hard to get married. And we were trying to pull it off in Maryland and then Pennsylvania, and just it just wasn't going to work. And finally the girls down there were like, just have it at Loretta's and we'll take care of it.
Man.
And we at first, we were trying to take care of everything ourselves and throw money at everybody and make it happen. And that family just pulled things together and said, nope, we got it. We got food, we got cake, we got everything taken care of. The wagon was taken care of,
Man.
and the weather was great, and everybody helped out and pitched in, and then we even had a lot of the Chuckwagon racers that were able to get down there, and thanks to Danny Wilson, he let everybody know at the last race.
Man, that's so cool.
And it was good. It was a great great addition to my family, and I couldn't say any more.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. We're just happy for you, man, and it's a beautiful thing. And
Absolutely.
had I known that was going down, I think I was like an hour late. I got in on Friday night, and I talked to Kim Mayo, and she was like, "Yeah, and Mason and Sherry, they just got married down by the creek." I was like, "Say what?" And sure enough, yeah, you guys had just celebrated the wedding. I was like, "Oh, I wish I would have known that. I would have got here. I would have got some cameras fired up. I would have made sure that was widely publicized." So you're probably better off for me not knowing, but man, I would have been on it.
We'll make sure we get you some videos. We got some videos come in that were really good.
That's
Awesome.
great, man. Yeah, please.
And we had Danny Wilson threaten to just take the carriage right by the wedding and go onto the track and run them mules. And so then he didn't. But we did leave in a hurry on the way out.
Yeah, man. I bet Danny Wilson was probably the drunk uncle at the wedding, wasn't he?
he you know what? He was on good behavior.
Oh man. Well, that's great, man. Congratulations again. That's exciting stuff. And it's also just another nod to that Chuckwagon racing family, at large. But but also what the Trump Train group has done. And actually, I'd love it to get your take on that. So from I know you weren't the founder of the Trump Train group. We've kind of mentioned Danny Wilson here. He's kind of
Yep.
he's El Presidente of Trump Train. But talk a little bit about how that got started.
Oof. Well, the story that I know is that Danny showed up at Loretta's several times, and just as a pleasure ride, and he had the two big black mules, Nip and Tuck, and somebody, I guess, talked him into racing them and signing them up, and he was there signing up, and they said, "What's your tarp name?" And he said, "Tarp name? What's that?" And they're like, "Well, you need a name to run under," and it was during Trump 2020, so they called the team Trump 2020, and now it looks like it's Trump 2024.
Yeah.
So I don't, and I guess it just settled with Trump Train, and Rodney Little was the whole signing me on, invited me down year after year. I've known him 7, 8, 9, 10, probably 10 years. And he's always invited me to Loretta's, and I just never made it. And then finally I was in Alabama one season and asked him if I'd like to come out and visit. And he said, yeah. He says, matter of fact, the 4th of July, is our race weekend. Come on down. And I had the pleasure of meeting this guy named Danny Wilson, and rode his black mules, and then it started from there. He was like, asked me if I wanted to race for him. I said, hell yeah. Where's the horses?
Man. And, shock for you, but probably a bigger shock for him to find out that you're an incredible outrider, and you can get on just about anything and get around the track. So I guess, my question is for you. I mean, what all are you racing? So maybe kind of shed some light on that and talk a little bit about how that started for you.
Well, I guess the first race started with a little black and white pony that Danny had in his field, and they usually pack him out on a wagon train and ride him a little bit. And he was like, "Yeah, this thing will race." He said, "Why don't we ride that?" I was like, "All right." So we took it for a ride on one of our first races, I think, and that might have been West Kentucky. And it went pretty well. He finished the race, but back then we were just racing the big mules, and it was an easy catch.
Was this a couple of years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yep. And it ended up that little pony cut a barrel on me, and I didn't know what I was doing. They were like, "Go back on the track where you came in." So I turned and went back on the track and finished the race. And I think we were like a 6 inches or 12, maybe 12 inches behind the mule's head when we crossed the finish line. And they're like, you got to be in front of us. I was like, oh, okay.
So you learned the hard way.
Yeah. So then we got our hard knocks, and then we decided we needed they were getting some other ponies and some mules, and he always wanted to do the classic wagon. And so it was like, well, we need some bigger horses. And he talked me into finding local thoroughbreds here in Maryland, and training them and bringing them down to race. So that's where we're at now. We pull the off-track thoroughbreds or something that we can find that's uninjured, and retrain them and put them on the track down there to make sure we got plenty of time to catch. It's always good to be safe at the start, and then as long as you got a horse that'll catch, I don't have to be in a hurry.
Yeah. So there's something kind of special about the Trump Train group that I don't know that I fully understand. I've just seen the numbers for the family of Trump Train people just grow and grow and grow. And I don't believe that everybody's from the same area either, right? So can you shed a little bit of light on what's going on there?
Oof. Well, it all, besides the start of it with Reggie Little and Miss Ann, but putting the Trump Train together, having a mouthpiece and a I don't even know whether to call him the leader. He's just Danny Wilson. He is just Danny Wilson. He is a pleasure to be around. He's fun to be around. Speaks his mind, tell you what he's thinking, and he makes that team work. It and everybody is so willing to help and put that team together. And we've got a really good group of the women and the young adults and the guys. And we have one of our biggest, newest additions, Alan Dillard, and he just come out of nowhere. He just wants something to do. And God, we can't even tie that man down to a chair. And he just works. And it works good for the team.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, how many people would you say are involved in that group now? Because I feel like in the last couple of years, I've seen it go from like whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was a dozen people. I'm not really sure. But it looks like a couple dozen at least are involved now.
I think it's like almost 40.
I think it was, on the team, I think when I started, I think it might have been really like 4 or 5 people. And then, then you had the people that were cooking food and everything for everybody. But it's really, my guess is 40, 44, 47 people. I don't even know that I could count them all and think, but I guess we'll find out at that table at the awards banquet.
Man.
Y'all gonna have to have
at the
rows.
tables, right? I really don't know, but I'm guessing it's upwards of that right now.
Yeah, and what were you saying there, Justin?
I was saying they're gonna have to have two or more rows at the banquet.
Yeah. No kidding. It's been pretty awesome to see, in a short span of time over the course of a couple of years, really, to see the team grow as much as it has. And I wouldn't say it's the first of its kind necessarily, because I feel like I've seen in the big mules at Clinton, I've really seen like some of these groups that really kind of grew on their own around what about Bob and all the different teams that kind of branched off of what he did. But as far as like somebody from way off the grid, I mean, you're talking Danny Wilson is from Georgia, you're from Maryland, you have all these people from in between. It's kind of become a little bit contagious.
Yeah, we're not missing any.
That's great, man. I mean, if we could copy and paste what you guys are doing onto a couple more groups, or however you want to phrase that, however you want to put that, I mean, all of a sudden, it's going to be Trump Train in a skirmish against another team, like that's a whole race in itself.
Right.
So at some point, I think that we've got to go deeper and figure out what's working there and figure out how we can get more people involved, because that's really what we want to see. Is we want to see people getting involved with the sport, and that's just it's really sparked my curiosity, and we'll have to interview Danny at some point and see if there's anything else secret in the sauce other than just like a little moonshine and some laughs. I'm not really sure, but that's what I get every time I talk to the guy.
I tell you, and we've thought about it, and being business owners, I think the biggest and most attractive thing with all of that is Danny makes everybody laugh and have a good time no matter what. But I think the biggest part of it is the delegation of responsibility and delegation of jobs. And it's like, if you're good at something, he hands it to you and says, you take care of it. You let me know if there's a problem. Otherwise, just take care of it. And so we got everybody that does the food, and we got somebody that brings eggs, and somebody brings meat, and somebody brings bread, and then we got the outride team, and then we have Danny with all the stock animals for the wagons, and then Alan and Danny on the wagons, and Stacy does repairs and ground management, and I mean it just goes on, and he literally, everybody's got their part, and there's nobody shaking any trees to upset anybody.
Yeah. No.
Yep. And then we even have Timmy. Timmy does all the farrier work, and also the groundwork and the driving. Well, everybody kind of drives a little bit except me and Sherry, but it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
They are taking like a 3-friend team and turning it into a whole NASCAR team.
Right.
They've got the pit crew, they've got the ground crew, they got everything.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Including the personal chef.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah,
but they. I saw a picture when I was at Loretta's. I don't know if it was from you, Mason, or if it was from somebody else, but it was like there were like 5 small wagons just lined up in a row, something like 5, all Trump trained tarps, and it just kind of puts into perspective what you guys are showing up with to compete at these different events, and you almost, single-handedly or as just your own team, you're filling in all the divisions, and I think that's so cool to see that. I just think it's great.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the last race at Loretta's, I usually carry 3 wagons on my trailer all the time. Danny carried 1 on his trailer and 1 on a trailer behind his horse trailer, and Alan carries 1 on a trailer behind his horse trailer.
And the classic, yeah.
And then the classic, so there's 1, 3, 4, 5. There was 6 wagons sitting there at Loretta's.
Wow.
Golly.
And they all the animals have their own harnesses, their own wagon, their wheels, and it's their own tarps. So it all gets set up the night before, and we don't have to switch anything.
Yeah. Well, and that's thank you.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of downtime sometimes when people are switching wagons, and it's it is a production as well as a competition, and so to have you guys out there just getting them in and out and getting into every single one of these divisions and competing, it's been just really cool. And what I love also is knowing the trend, and I just know it's going to keep growing for you guys. And also, you were saying everybody's got a job, and you're a welder.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what you do by trade, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty valuable to have when you got a bunch of these little wagons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We try to make it work. We got Alan. He's a welder. He welds, and he's a mechanic. So we got good hands everywhere, really.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you a couple questions here. What's your favorite racetrack?
Ooh.
Tuscumbia, maybe.
Yeah. I think for the saloon, I would say Tuscumbia.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. The Rattlesnake Saloon.
But I also like racing on the Ridge. That's a good track.
Is that
good people? I like the way it's set up.
Whiskey Ridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a Whiskey Ridge fan. I like that place.
Malvern, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a good one.
It's far to travel, but you know what? Hey, it's worth it.
Did you guys? Were you guys Were you at Baker Spain? Were you at the Missouri race this year?
No.
We did not. We missed that race.
That was a back-to-back one.
It was a back-to-back race for us,
right?
Which we would have probably had to stay out. Which we already did that once when the weather was like soaking wet, and we had some problems with some of the horses. So we didn't really want to highline 12 head at somebody's place for a whole week while we were waiting for the next race.
Golly.
So we just decided not to do that one.
So when you travel down to like Clinton, for example, Clinton, Arkansas, what is your drive time?
Going to Clinton, we leave Maryland. She used to leave Pennsylvania the day before, travel 4 hours to Maryland. And then we would travel from Maryland to Indiana, which is usually 13, 14 hours. And then we would make that last leg down to Arkansas, and that would take us about 20. Another 10 or 12 hours.
Man, that's incredible. You guys are talking like 3 or 4 days of driving round trip just to, I mean, really it's 4 days of driving. I mean, you're probably not driving the full
4 days.
Wow. Yeah. You guys are dedicated. I mean, kudos to you guys. That's insane.
Yeah. We've tried, we thought about trying to do it, in one day, but it wastes a whole day of sleeping when we get there.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and it's a good way to get catch that cold or get sick or whatever, and just not be able to enjoy it. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Seven Springs to Tuscumbia, and that's your favorite track. And so, I do want to ask you. I don't know that we could possibly show on here the significance of what you do as an outrider. You get on and you catch the vast majority of the time. So what, how many races are you typically competing in at an association race or, where you don't have a limit? And then, what's kind of your secret?
You do 6 a day.
Usually there's 6 races that we run.
Each day.
Each day, 6 on Saturday, 6 on Sunday.
Wow.
We run 2 horses. And one of the biggest things is, having a decent, we pull horses off the track. So they're good horses, but there's a lot of retraining to do. So we do a lot of groundwork and get that horse to submit to what we're asking them to do out there and focus. Do a lot of gun training, and every time that there's a wagon out on the track, I try to get up behind it and follow it and just relax with the animal instead of, teaching a horse to run. I always feel that, the horses either know how to run or they don't know how to run, and you ain't going to train one to run if you don't know. But, so, we don't run them until we get on that track. We try to do everything but, and, as long as they submit to us and hang out at the back of that wagon and stand there when a gun goes off, the rest of it is all just daily get on and ride.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, man. I mean, I've just watched you, and it's like if you're going to bet on somebody, I mean, the outrider is such an important, integral part of any of these races. Obviously, you have to have the outrider to catch in order for you to be, to have a qualified time. And especially when you talk about the national championships or any high stakes situation, where it matters, having a trustworthy, outrider that's going to get the job done it's invaluable. And so yeah, it's been pretty awesome to see the work that you've done. I mean, man, you're just so reliable. And I think anybody that's down there racing knows that about you. And then, so, if I was Trump trained, I'd probably have you running for every single division that I could get you into as well. So that makes sense.
Well, thanks.
It's pretty awesome, man. And so, I guess rather than kick you off here, we're going to make you stay on for a minute. And one thing we wanted to talk about today was how the association differs from an outlaw race. And so how many races in total do you think you guys went to this year? There's 8 association and a handful of outlaw races, including Clinton. So how many outlaw and associated did you go to this year?
9, 10, because we did all the association races and then we did Clinton and Loretta's.
Man.
Wow.
So,
and Missouri.
And we didn't do Missouri, but I just wanted to go back real fast and just touch. So I'm reliable till Justin asks when you're not going to catch.
Yep.
Oh man. Oh yep. Yeah. I will never say that
Uh,
again. I promise, Mason. I'll never say that again. Oh
well,
man.
I got all three of them. I got all three of them behind me.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
But yeah, so we attended all of the association races except that one in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was 9 races that we did this year.
Man, that's incredible. That's a lot of driving, and not to mention if you're taking stock and you're taking all that stuff with you. I mean, holy cow. And so,
Well, both Sherry and I, we both kind of have always worked at home, so driving that little bit of time for a weekend of fun, we probably drive less than the normal person that has to drive to work every day, and we have a lot of good times in the truck.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah. I mean, it really you talk about the journey. I'm so much like when it comes to traveling, the journey to me means as much as it does the destination.
That's right.
So it's always
That's right.
it's always nice to getting on the road's a good feeling, especially when you're accustomed to it and you know what to expect and you got a good driving buddy. So that's awesome. So Andy comes from the other direction. He's from Oklahoma, and
Oh,
but his drive time's a lot less most of the time. But like
A
everybody
lot
is.
less.
Yeah.
But I did want to say, Justin. So what were some of the notes here? So the biggest differences between association and outlaw races. The highlighted points there.
Well, so your biggest differences are, of course, the association has a board, and so they have those rules set in stone, right? So you have to abide by those rules in every associational race. And then you've got these outlaw races, right? So if you're looking at a regular outlaw race, like maybe the Cowboy Church race that was just like a month ago, and then you've got maybe the ones over there in Hurricane Mills and things like that. Okay, so we do have one association race there, but of course they also have their outlaw race, which is the Hurricane or the Halloween Havoc, and so on those. You don't have those rules really that you have to abide by. So you don't have the weigh and measure. You don't have to do that. Now, some of the tracks still do, but you don't have to. And then you have things like, like if you move over to Clinton. Clinton does their weigh and measure, but they do it differently. They have the combined measure,
the
or
average.
The average. Yep. And then not only that, but you have 3 teams racing where the association has 2 teams.
No, 4 teams. Yeah, 4 teams.
4 teams. I don't know why I said 3. Anyways, 4 teams. And so it's been a long week.
Hey, we can go back to 3 out there.
Yeah.
There's one less to look out for.
Oh no.
Right.
No. Dapo would kill me. So
Yeah, she probably would.
yeah, they have the 4 teams, and then of course, they don't even do all the races that the association does. So the association does the big horse, and they don't do that at Clinton. So
big horse, rubber tire.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, there's a couple of things that are different. When you get to like the smaller races that are outlaw races that don't have the rules set in stone with them, like Clinton does, then you've also got, they're not as strict on their length of track and things like that. And so there are quite a bit of differences, but mainly the associations, you have your points and you have your those rules that are set in stone.
Yeah, and I think it's important that people know, when you look at outlaw, like you look at the national championship Chuckwagon races. This is technically an outlaw race, and you are not going out there competing for something that's season long. It's not a points total like you have in the association. You're competing for the buckle, for the championship that one sole weekend. When you go to an association race, you are looking at a string of sanctioned races, or a circuit, if you will. You're talking, there are in 2024 8 sanctioned races held across, I think, 5 states. And, so it's this span of time where you're trying to accumulate points, throughout the season. You can earn up to 15 points if you have first place in a association race, and second place 14, third place 13, and so on. And so that's kind of some of the bigger differences there too. I mean, just high level understanding that while the national championships in Clinton are so highly revered, so highly loved, it's the biggest event of the year. The association races are really like the league, if you will, that's going on constantly, kind of more throughout the year, even though, you hit the winter months and everything just dies down. But those are the kinds of things that really, I don't know that everybody knows high level that Clinton is kind of the granddaddy of them all, and it's its own thing. And then you also have this other entity, the Arkansas Chuckwagon Racing Association, that kind of governs that association, that circuit. And then you have your other, handful or so of like outlaw events that, while they are outlaw like the national championships, they are outlaw in that they are on their own. They are smaller. They may have their own reasoning for doing it. You talk about Natchez, Texas, the 1836. That event is, very much like they literally run a race called Run What You Brung. And it is a sight, because everybody that's just out there, whether it's a wagon, whether it's a weird little pony team, a little like some big old mules, like you name it, it's just they just put them all on the line. They fire that Colt pistol and they go. And it was like I got a great drone shot of it down there this year, where it's just like going across the field. It's like some weird Frankenstein Lord of the Rings thing going on, because you just have all this stuff running, and then of course somebody that's on horseback, they're going to win that thing, like Mason would. But it's still pretty neat to see it. So anyways, wanted to shed some light on the difference between outlaw and association. And Mason, is there anything that you would add to that, from being a racer, that you would think is a big differentiator between those two kinds of races?
Well, it definitely, in the association races, it's, you've definitely got those guidelines and those restrictions you got to follow. And, those money races, or at least the first one that we really ran in that changed everything was right here at Loretta's, the Halloween Havoc, because unfortunately there was a lot of racers that didn't show up, but it was just like throw everything together and race what you brought. And so it was fun. Sometimes I like to know what is actually going on, so I'm ready.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know. I know that association race is definitely a lot of practice for Clinton.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems like for me. We have a good time, and we get along with all the racers and the outriders. I got some good relationships there, and for us, it's just a good time, either race.
Yeah. And
I will say this: there is one thing that I will add. So, on a lot of people don't know this, or they do, I'm guessing. But for the association races, you get all of the association people with it. You get the starter for the association, you get the judges, you get the
timers,
timekeepers, you get all those things that come along with the association at every one of those races. So the individual track owners don't have to, get people to do that for them. So these other outlaw races, that's what they have to do. They have to get their own people to do those jobs that typically would already come with the association. And then another thing is, it's oh, well, now I don't remember what I was going to say. Go ahead.
and to piggyback on what you were saying, Justin, I mean, you talk about having to staff your race if you're an outlaw race. Down there at 1836, Moon Swanson, he not only kind of puts the thing together with his wife, but they, he gets on horseback, he gets on a headset, and hosts the thing, which I love that, by the way. I would be down if more races did that, where you've got your MC on horseback and he's down there screwing around with people. I think it's great. But he also is firing and starting the races,
Wow.
with his Colt pistol. I think it's fantastic. I love it. And, it can be a little bit of a pitfall if you're not succeeding with the production aspect of that. But it has so much potential too, because it puts in the hands of a guy who could be an entertainer, and really run the show. And so, we had it was a 2-day race that I was down there for the first time this year in April. And the first day it was just like rained out, all but literally rained out. Like they didn't turn on the PA. We were literally singing, like the people were singing the national anthem, and there was no microphone. It was just like Moon is like, all right, we're gonna sing the anthem together, and so like, here we go, and he just starts, and so everybody's just out there singing the anthem, and then it's like, yeah, and then he's just firing pistols and going, and that was the first day of it. But then the second day was awesome because, it was the full production. The weather was awesome. And he was out there on the mic and he was doing the whole thing. And they have this whole introductory ceremony of the history of of Texas and it's gaining its independence and all the different flags of the history of Texas and stuff. And then they fire 3 Civil War cannons, red, white, blue smoke. It's incredible. So go to that race, Mason. It'll just be a little further, but it's in Texas and it's
in Texas.
Yeah. Go check it out on the Chuckwagon channel. $11 a month, $99 a year. Just whenever. But
Mama said she's ready for Texas.
Yeah. But we just put their promo video out on the Chuckwagon channel, and go watch it because you'll see those cannons firing. It's really cool. And it's
we might have to overnight at Andy's.
Yeah, or just move down here. At some point you got to stop. Like you're spending more time down here, anyways, right? So.
But hey, I mean, we've got pins, we got places to put horses. It is not a problem. We got RV hookups. We're good.
Yeah. Don't threaten Andy with a good time. He'll move on. Listen, in.
I will tell you, come on.
Mason might not be, he might not be, so acquainted with the weather we have down here. He might like it colder up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I have noticed. It's probably about 10-degree difference most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so yeah, thanks for sticking around for that. Mason, it's cool to get your insight on stuff, man. It's, you got a lot of respect for what you do on the track, but you also get a lot of respect for what you do off the track. I mean, the fact that you are so dedicated and you come to these races, and it just seems like you've really found something that's special to you guys, not only for you personally, but the whole Trump Train team and what's going on there. It's great for the sport, and you're kind of like that prime example of what we just want to see more people doing with the sport. We want to see more people getting involved and getting married to it, getting married with it, literally for you.
Yeah.
But
right.
But yeah, man, kudos to you, and we just really appreciate you being on the show and giving us some time here on a Wednesday night, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, and congrats again
for having us.
Yeah, congrats, you guys. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and Sherry did let me know that you gave one of those shirts away that I gave you, and so she gets to wear your Chuckwagon channel shirt now. and the next time we see you, we'll give you another one. No problem, man. It's we're more than happy to have you sporting what we're doing because we love what you're doing.
I did wear it around the track a couple of times when we were riding, practicing, warming up.
Oh,
I didn't. You were busy.
Man, you got to put that on. You got to post it on Facebook, Sherry, since you're his social media manager, I'm sure, and you tag me on that stuff.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Well, we congratulate you again on being newlyweds, and we hope you just live it up and enjoy the holidays. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Love you guys. Thanks for having us.
Much love, brother. We'll see you.
See you.
See you, Mason.
Cool. Oh, man. Yeah. What a guy. What a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hoot. And that story he was talking about, I don't remember if I've said this on here or not before, but I was starting and he came up with his horse and they were about to race. And he had just got done with a race, like a couple of heats before, or a couple of heats before. And I was like, man, what race do you not catch?
Yeah, he's in them
And
all,
then
man, and he's catching.
and then he didn't catch.
Oh,
I was like, I am so sorry. I'll never say that again.
Yeah, there's your superstitious part of sports right there. You like say nothing.
Yeah.
Say nothing. That's awesome though. I mean, yeah, he's such a good guy. And I interviewed him at Rats race down in Camden, Arkansas. That was my first time really getting to catch up with him and meet him. And then, he kind of put into perspective to me how many races he's really in. And you have several guys that are doing that for the outriding, not a lot of great outriders, and not a lot of outriders in general. So, like he was saying, they swap out 2 horses so he can get through 6 races a day. And I mean, yeah, just kudos to that guy. Like he's working, man. And not only that, he is traveling. Nobody travels like that guy. That's incredible.
Yep. Yeah, that's I just can't imagine. I mean, you've got to be passionate about the sport to be traveling that much.
Yeah. And I mean, Andy,
No joke.
Andy, you're the only one out of the 3 of us that really travels with, livestock and everything like that. I mean, to pack up and prepare for each of these events is crazy.
Yeah, and not only that, but we do that, but it's just us. It's just Dad and I most of the time. And in their case, and we didn't really elaborate on this so much, but I don't know them like you do, but I understand they're spread out. Like they're coming from different states.
Yeah.
So I mean, and the way that he talked about delegating jobs and work and stuff and who brings what, there's even some trust involved in that. I mean, because if something happens to somebody or somebody doesn't show up or whatever, yeah, I'm sure you'll get on, but being able to count on each other to do that stuff and bring what everyone needs that's not nothing. Like it seems simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
Especially when you can't just drive up the road and pick the wagon up if that person's sick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. It's really neat to get that perspective, for somebody that's so involved, for someone that has a cool story about, being a part of that Trump Train race team and what they're growing it into and what that does for the sport at large. I just think it's awesome. And, I know we told you it'd be a long show. I'd love to keep on just going and going here. I know we threw on this new segment, but I'm pretty much I'm gonna blow through this with you guys real quick. So the quick notes that I had, I was gonna say if you could be president for a day, and I think if I was president for a day, I would just make sure that we give kudos to the Trump Train group for advocating for Trump and making sure that we secured the election here. And so I think that mostly is what probably swayed most of the voters, going back to what we were talking about earlier. But if I was president for a day, I'd make sure to give them a shout out because, they're doing a great job, by representing something that they care about, but also doing it as a family. And they're not rubbing things in anybody's faces, like whatever opinion you have of, a Donald Trump campaign, these guys are not like a bunch of jerks or anything like that. They would do anything for you, and they're doing that for each other. And that's what makes them family and what makes their group grow and their family grow. The other thing that I would do if I was president for a day is I'd call Brad House and I'd be like, hey, guess who's president now, Brad? And I'd let him know that I would definitely, like, if everybody, if I was for like a day, I would definitely have a State of the Union address. I would impromptu, and I'd make sure that I'm like, and my cell phone number is, and I'd give him Brad's number, and then and then it'd be Brad's problem. And
if you've got problems, call.
And then the other thing that I was like, definitely I've got to do if I was president for a day is I would make sure that like I sign an executive order that makes like Chuckwagon racing an Olympic sport, so that it
come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was gonna say. Like you're just
Oh.
leaving nothing. I have nothing now.
I
Like
know. Exactly.
Since
Leave
you
it.
did
Left nothing
5
for anybody
things, you were
else.
like, name
Yeah,
one thing
yeah.
that you're gonna do. Now you did 5. So
Well, that's what I did in 5 minutes.
yeah.
That's what I did in 5 minutes. Give me 24 hours, see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
I'll be president for a day.
I'm not playing anymore.
President
cheating.
for 10 minutes. Oh man,
Mm,
sorry, I stole all your thunder, guys.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But we are getting late here. I know that Justin is probably excited to see how large the download is on this video file for this, and yeah, I think this is going to be a fun episode for people to take in. So next week we'll have another interview, but I think the format may change if things go according to plan. I think that I'm going to be trying to do an interview more mano-a-mano, one-on-one with Josh Spain. So heads up on that, guys. Josh Spain, he is the owner of the Goat Ranch, where they put on the Baker Spain Stampede in late June every year. They just became a sanctioned race. Andy's been going to Baker Spain longer than I have, and I live an hour away. And that's a good one. And the stuff that they are doing on their ranch to turn it into not just a venue for Western sporting events like Chuckwagon racing and rodeo and things like that, they've pretty much evolved it in the last couple of years to become a full-on entertainment venue that I'd put up against some of the biggest and best out there for what it is.
Yeah,
And
no kidding.
they're bringing in like big artists, and the other day they even posted on Facebook like, who would you guys rather have as one of our earlier artists in the week? Luke Bryan or Miranda Lambert? Or they're serious. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see that, Andy?
No, I didn't see the post, but I absolutely believe it. I mean, we've already had Riley Green, so it's like, where do you go from here? I mean, they are absolutely blowing up. Like they are. I mean, the thought resort comes to mind. Like they are really going all out. I mean, I don't mean that in a cheesy way or whatever. I mean, it's really it's an amazing venue.
Yeah. Well, I hope to tell more of that story through the podcast, but I also, talking to Josh Spain, and with them being essentially the most local race to me, we've talked about capturing more of that process, if it's feasible to show more of that and what they're doing. 'Cause I think it's super interesting, and that's the kind of stuff that I would love to be sharing on the channel, and maybe even a bigger audience. Maybe there's something that's really there, and that's something that, I think could grow the sport of Chuckwagon, just having a great story to tell. And so, they are writing one hell of a story over there, and
absolutely,
I'm excited to delve deeper on that. So, cross your fingers that that's happening next week. If it's not next week, it's coming really, really soon here. So, like I said, that could be a different format. That might be more of a sit down interview. But time will tell. We're figuring this stuff out as we go. Like I said, if you have not already, please subscribe and relive the ride on chuckwagonchannel.com. And thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you for supporting what we do, and we'll see you out on the track.
Thanks for listening to the CWC podcast.